called Johnny's Egyptian Jamboree when we're having the presidents of Egypt's freedom democracy. Let's start with our first guest. Let's see, we got Gamal Abdel Nasser. I hope I said that right. President Nasser.
Good day, sir. Thank you very much.
Well, just a little brief intro. President Nasser. He was the second president of the Egyptian Republic. Did I say that right, or did I butcher it? Because I am from the south, from Alabama, so I don't know. Well, let's get to the real issues here. So, what was it like being president?
Being president was a difficult time. It started in 1956, is when my presidency began. The country wasn't doing the greatest for itself, and me coming out of a long military career, I was hoping to give a good restart to the nation, which I think I did. My presidency, at least at the beginning, was known as like the golden age of Egypt, where I was able to increase the fine arts.
So you built the pyramids, is what I'm saying, huh?
No, sir. No. In the fine arts with film and art, all that kind of stuff. So it gave people the freedom to do whatever they want. They could go out, have a nice time. They could have fun. They had the freedom to do whatever they want. And also, the economic reforms that I was able to put in place also gave the people freedom. They had more money because I had a 9% GDP ratio up every year for the first 10 years I was in office. So it gave people the freedom to spend their money, to make money, which made it easier.
Okay, well, I have one more question for you before I kick you off here, get the next president on. Well, what was your experience with democracy?
I think I tried to do the best for democracy by making people as free as they needed to be and let them do what they wanted, but obviously you couldn't have them do whatever they wanted because I was a socialist leader. I was all for democracy, but everyone needed to know their place.
Welcome back. Now let's welcome our next president, Anwar Sadat.
How you doing?
Please take a seat.
All right, thank you.
Sadat, what was your experience with democracy as you were president of Egypt?
Well, I don't think my experience was a good one. I created the open door policy after Nasser because I wanted to open up my country to foreign trade. I wanted the country to flourish. But that actually led to high inflation, and it created a large gap between the poor and the rich. That also led to the 1977 food riot within my country, which wasn't good. But the one thing that I did do that was great was that I was the first president. I began peace talks with Israel, and by 1979 we finally reached an agreement. And that really made my popularity decline within other Arab nations.
I see. Well, unfortunately, I got to stop you there, so...
Thanks for having me.
I know, man. Hey, wait. Whoa, that was weird. Well, let's introduce our next guest, Hosni Mubarak. I hope I said that right.
Not quite. Hosni Mubarak.
I will learn that later on in life. So, Mubarak, what was it like being president, and what was your experience with democracy?
Well, first, salam alaikum, my friends. I was the fourth president of Egypt. I was in power for 30 years, more than any other Egyptian president. I assumed the presidency after my dear friend Anwar Sadat was tragically assassinated. One of my first orders of business was getting Egypt readmitted to the Arab League. I was harsh on corruption early on in my presidency. I also expanded Egyptian security forces to impose more order. I did not want to end up like my dear friend Sadat. I was also against the rise of Islamic fundamentalism. In 1987, 1993, and 1999, I was the only candidate but also best candidate in our presidential elections. There was pressure on me to liberalize the elections, so I asked the Parliament to amend the Constitution and allow for multi-candidate presidential elections in 2005. Sadly, that meant I could no longer have myself nominated by Parliament and then win the referendum unopposed. The state media and government newspapers expressed my views and helped me win another term as president that year. There were allegations of a rigged allegation. So, I sentenced one of my opponents and accusers to 5 years of hard labor. I keep hearing about how corrupt my regime was and was in the 2000s. Okay, I might have imprisoned a few opposing political figures without trial. I also extended the emergency law, which allowed officers to violate citizens' privacy, despite my promise to repeal it. I saw myself as a strong but fair leader, but apparently my people did not. In early 2011, mass protests erupted in Cairo against me and my regime. I refused to resign until September, at the earliest. I promised to step down and promote constitutional reform, but this was not good enough for my people. I was banned from leaving Egypt, and my family and I were placed under house arrest. I was charged with economic wrongdoing and murder and was given life imprisonment. However, I've been released of these charges recently. The irony in all of this is that my country is no better off now than when I was overthrown 2 years ago.
It's a sad story. Well, I'm going to have to kick you off too, as I kick off everyone else, because we have another guest.
I might have to kick you off one day.
I don't think I'm in America.
Thank you.
And our last guest today, in a long line of presidents of Egypt, Mohamed Morsi. Nice to meet you, sir. Nice to meet you. I have a question for you. Are you related to Muhammad Ali?
What's that?
Don't worry. Apparently not.
All right.
So, Morsi. If I can call you that, or should I say President Morsi?
We'll leave the president title, though it's not technically there.
More? Okay, Morsi. So, how was your experience with democracy as president of Egypt?
It was a pretty good run-in, I guess, for approximately a year, 2 years, give or take how you look at it. But considering the situation we were in, it was just dreaded. So I sought to basically draft a new constitution, promote civil rights for the people, but people weren't agreeing because the people. But besides that, I tried to basically get more of the Islamic laws and have those more centered for the people. But nobody really wanted to enshrine those, so it's gonna be. Next thing you know, people aren't liking me, there's riots, and then eventually, the military threatened to, basically kick me out of office. And I was like, well, I'm the president, so no. They didn't kick us funny, so on July 3rd, they came up to my building and kicked me out.
Well, that's all the time we have for tonight, so I gotta say goodbye to you. It's really interesting talking to you. Oh, I do have to warn you one thing. There are riots outside shouting your name, so I don't know anything, but have fun, be safe.
It never stops.
Hopefully I have a good day. That was an interesting night with the presidents of Egypt. Well, tune in next week when we have the presidents of America here. George Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Hussein Obama. Well, I fare you well, and thank you for coming to the show.